Hey, before we dive deeper, a quick like on this video really helps the channel grow. It only takes a second, but it means the world to us. Thanks for the support. You're amazing. Hi, I'm Jordan. I live in a town you probably know by name, but not by heart, Greenville, North Carolina. Not the exciting part with tech startups and rooftop bars. No, I'm on the side where the most thrilling thing that happens is someone getting a wrong pizza order and starting a mini riot in the gas station parking lot. I work part-time at a car rental place near the airport. I share a one-bedroom apartment with a loud ceiling fan and a very judgmental mirror. And every morning, rain or shine, I run 3 miles. Not because I love running, but because it's the only time of day I feel like I'm moving forward. I'm 28. I'm not broke, not rich, not famous, not invisible. Just a regular guy on autopilot. My life wasn't perfect, but it fit me like a second-hand jacket. Worn but mine. Every day was the same playlist. Wake up, jog, work, nap, reheat leftovers, watch reruns, sleep, repeat. It wasn't a bad life, but it wasn't awake either. I guess you could say I was surviving, not living. Then one Friday, I got this itch. Nothing medical, just that internal buzz you get when something needs to change, but you're not sure what. So I tossed some clothes in a duffel, filled up my tank, and told my cousin Eric I was heading his way. He lived in Roanoke, Virginia, about 3 hours northeast. He owed me dinner. And more importantly, I needed air. I needed distance from everything familiar. Something unscripted. What I got instead was her. It was about an hour into the drive. Smooth road, no traffic, just the low hum of tires and my old playlist looping when I saw her. A silver luxury car was pulled over on the side of the road. Hazard lights blinking, front tire flat, like a deflated promise. And there she was pacing beside it, phone to her ear, sunglasses on, legs that could probably slow down traffic even without the car. At first, I slowed out of habit, but then I caught a clearer glimpse of her face and paused. She wasn't panicked. She was annoyed. And good Lord, she was beautiful. Early 30s, maybe? Late 30s? I couldn't tell. She had that polished kind of beauty, the kind that didn't try too hard because it didn't have to. Honey-toned skin, soft curls tied back in a low ponytail, gold hoops that shimmered every time she turned her head. I slowed beside her car and rolled down my window. Need a hand? She didn't even glance at me. I've called someone already, she replied, voice sharp and expensive. I nodded. Yeah, but they're not here yet. And I'm already here. That made her look. She lowered her glasses just slightly. Are you always this persistent with strangers? Only the well-dressed ones with expensive heels stranded on the highway. Her lips curved into the faintest smirk. She stepped back, giving me room. Fine. Impress me. I pulled off the road, grabbed my small roadside kit from the trunk, and crouched beside her car. I didn't say much at first. I figured she was used to men trying too hard to be charming. So I focused on the tire, checking the jack point, loosening the lug nuts, keeping it simple. But I could feel her watching me. Not impatient. Not anxious. Just curious. You always help random women with flat tires? She asked after a minute. Only when they look like they've never held a wrench before. So judgmental, she teased. For someone who doesn't even know my name. All right then, I said, glancing up with a grin. What's your name? Tell me yours first. Jordan. Jordan. She paused. Nice hands, Jordan. I blinked. Looked at her. Your hands, she repeated, more slowly this time. They're really strong. You should come visit me sometime. I like people who fix things. I stared at her for a second, the wrench halfway off the bolt. Was she serious? But she just tilted her head, like she hadn't just dropped a live wire between us. You flirt like it's part of your skincare routine, I muttered. What can I say? I moisturized well and tipped generously. 10 minutes later, the tire was changed. She stood beside me as I tightened the final lug nut, her perfume drifting down with the breeze, sweet, floral, something that didn't come from a drugstore. I stood, wiping my hands. All set. Impressive, she said. Efficient. Gentle. And didn't even ask for anything in return. It's what I do, I said, shrugging. Good, she said, pulling her phone from her clutch. Because now I'm asking. She tapped the screen, then held it out to me. Put your number in. I might need more help. I arched a brow. With tires? She smiled. Let's not limit it to that. I typed in my number, handed the phone back. She slipped her glasses on, stepped toward her car, then paused. By the way, I'm Camilla. Camilla, I echoed. She said, settling into her seat. Try not to fall in love with me. And just like that, the engine purred to life, and she pulled away, leaving me on the roadside with my mouth slightly open, my palms still dirty, and my whole world already rearranged. It had been 2 days since I changed her tire. I wasn't exactly waiting by my phone, but I also hadn't let it leave my sight. I checked it more than I checked the time, which is saying a lot, because I hate being late. Maybe she was just playing. Maybe it was a rich lady flirt to pass the boredom. Or maybe, buzz, a message, unknown number. I opened it. Back from your run, hero? I'm still thinking about those hands. I sat back and exhaled, smiling like a teenager. Good hands are underrated, I replied. That depends who's noticing. I guess I'm lucky then. You are. Come tomorrow. I owe you a glass of something expensive. No, hope you're free. No emoji. No room for doubt. That's how Camilla was. Direct. Slightly dangerous. And for reasons I hadn't yet figured out, interested. The next evening, I pulled up to her place. Correction, her estate. You know those homes that look like they belong in a catalog? Manicured hedges, a circular driveway, and a front door that probably cost more than my last 2 paychecks combined? Yeah, that. I parked behind a sleek black sports car, stepped out, and just stood there for a second. There's something about being in a space that doesn't belong to you. It either makes you want to prove you belong, or reminds you that you don't. She opened the door before I could knock. Camilla stood there barefoot, holding a wine glass, wearing a silky robe that looked casual but definitely wasn't off the rack. Her hair was loose, curled slightly like she'd let it dry that way, and her eyes, green, curious, held mine like I was something she'd ordered on purpose. You said visit, I said, stepping in. You didn't say arrive at a castle. I like surprises, she said. You brought those hands, right? Only the good ones. Then you're welcome here anytime. If you made it this far into the video, take a second and ask yourself, why haven't you liked it yet? Just one click can make a huge difference. It helps this video reach more people, and honestly, we need that support. We need you. Thanks for watching and being part of this journey. Her living room was a mix of modern and old world. Tall windows, soft jazz playing low in the background, books stacked in odd places, art on the walls that didn't match but still worked. She poured me a drink. Deep red, no label on the bottle. Of course, you always invite strange men to your home after they fix your tire? I asked. Only the ones who don't stare at my chest while doing it. I almost choked on the wine. She grinned. Relax, she said. If I thought you were creepy, I'd have handed you tea and sent you packing. So this is curiosity, she said, and maybe something else. We settled on the couch, a low, wide velvet thing that swallowed me up. She crossed one leg over the other and watched me. Not in a what do you want kind of way. More like, what's your story? She broke the silence first. My father built this house. Him personally? No, she said, smiling. But he signed every check. Chose every wall color. Picked the tile in the bathroom. Sounds involved. Controlling, she corrected. But yes, involved. She looked around the room like it wasn't hers. Like she was borrowing it from a version of herself she didn't believe in. He likes things grand. Perfect. Expensive. And he made sure I'd be the same. Did it work? Sometimes. She paused. But the older I get, the more I want real things. Real people. Which is probably why I asked a stranger to come over instead of calling my designer therapist. I let that sit for a second. Well, I said, you picked a good stranger. Did I? I fix what's broken. What if I'm not broken? Then I'll just hang around until something rattles. She laughed, loud and unfiltered. It was the first time she looked unguarded. We talked, and drank, and talked some more. About school, about work, about everything and nothing. She told me about the boy who broke her heart at 19 and the man who nearly ruined her at 26. I told her about growing up without much, how my mom made miracles from discount store groceries, and how my older brother once stole a car stereo just so we could buy a microwave. I don't come for money, I said. I know, she said. It's in your eyes. What is? That careful look, like you've had to explain yourself one too many times. She turned her body toward me, glass resting on her thigh. You talk like someone who's felt too much, she said, voice low, but still hasn't shut down. That hit harder than I expected, because it was true, and not many people could see that, especially not people like her. When I left that night, she walked me to the door. Thanks for coming, she said. Thanks for inviting me. Maybe next time, she said, you'll tell me what you're really running from. Maybe next time, I said, you'll admit what you're looking for. We stared at each other for a moment too long. She didn't kiss me, didn't reach out, just smiled that same small, knowing smile she gave me on the side of the road, and closed the door behind her. That drive home felt longer than it was, because my mind wasn't on the road. It was still on her couch, with her legs crossed, her voice in my head, her laugh wrapped around my ribs like a wire I didn't want to cut. There's a kind of intimacy that doesn't come from touching. It comes from showing up again and again and being seen, fully, flaws and all. That's what started happening with Camilla and me. Somehow, what began as a wine-soaked flirtation turned into Tuesday dinners, Thursday walks, Saturday mornings spent lingering over coffee neither of us drank fast. I started memorizing the scent of her hair, the way she always bit her lip when she was deep in thought. I think she noticed the way I always stood too close when I talked, like I needed her to hear not just my words but my heartbeat. One night, we cooked together. Or rather, she cooked, and I chopped vegetables too slowly while trying not to get distracted by the curve of her back as she moved around the kitchen. We ended up sitting on the floor, backs against her fridge, plates balanced on our knees. I never had a garden, I told her, but I used to stare at one through a neighbor's fence. It had this tiny peach tree. I swore I'd steal a fruit one day. Never did. She looked over at me, something soft in her expression. Let's build one, she said suddenly. A garden? A small one. Just ours. Peach is optional. I laughed, and for a second, so did my soul. She could do that to me. Another night, her couch was where we landed. A movie played, forgotten in the background. Sometimes I think I scare men, she said quietly. I turned to her. She was staring ahead, not at me. You don't scare me, I said. Then why aren't you touching me? That made me smile. Because you make me forget what I was about to say, I replied. She turned then, her eyes finding mine. I don't know what this is yet, she admitted. That's okay, I said. I'll wait until you do. She leaned forward for a heartbeat, like she might close the space between us, but stopped. Her forehead rested against mine for a moment. You're dangerous, she whispered. You invited me in, I whispered back. It wasn't until a week later that something broke open. We were sitting in her garden. Yes, she'd started one. In pots, scattered on her porch. She looked at me, and her voice barely carried. I keep thinking about that day by the road. So do I said. It felt like something was starting. It was, I replied. I just didn't know if it was allowed to. We didn't kiss that night either. But the silence between us had changed. It wasn't empty. It was waiting. The night it finally happened, there was no thunder, no fireworks, just a record playing soft jazz, the glow of a single lamp, and the air thick with everything we hadn't said. We sat close, closer than usual. Her thigh brushed mine, and neither of us moved away. You keep looking at me like I'm going to disappear, she said. I'm just trying to remember you, right? I said, barely a whisper. She smiled then, a small, fragile thing. Then come closer. I did. The kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't slick. It was slow, searching, sacred, like two people trying to taste a language they didn't yet know but already understood. When we pulled apart, she rested her forehead against mine. If you stay tonight, she said, I don't want you to pretend it's casual. I haven't felt casual about you since the tire, I replied. We lay in her bed, the sheets cool against our skin. Her fingers traced circles on my chest. I still don't know what this looks like, I confessed. We don't need a blueprint, she whispered. We just need two people brave enough to try. You always talk like you're the one taking the risk, I said. She looked at me, her gaze more open than I'd ever seen it. Maybe I am. The next morning, we sat on her back porch. She wore an oversized shirt and no makeup. Her hair was messy. She looked perfect. Coffee steamed between us. Her head leaned against my shoulder. I don't want to go back to how things were, I said. Then don't, she replied, simple as breath. I looked out at the little garden. You really changed my direction, you know. She turned to me, eyes soft. And you reminded me I'm allowed to be wanted. I kissed her temple. The road trip was supposed to clear my mind, I said. And I meant it. Turns out, it led me to a whole new life.